Good afternoon, Ms. Allison.
Hi.
First, I'm just going to have you sign in right here on our attendance.
All right.
Thank you, and thank you so much for meeting me today to discuss Jackson
Sure.
and his academic progress and see how it aligns with South Carolina college and career readiness. And we are going to talk about a few data points as we go along today to see how his overall growth is so far in 4th grade. And we're going to look at his specific data. Some will be from the spring of last year and others will be from the fall of this year, and see how they both align. And then we're going to also look at his grades for the first 9 weeks in 4th grade. As we go along, if there's any questions that you have, feel free to stop me along the way. And I'm just going to start by asking if there's anything specific that you would like to cover today.
Well, he really hates math, so if we could talk about ways to help him in math, that would be great.
Absolutely. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is just a little overview of Harborview and some of the exciting news that we have. So in 2018-2019, the State Department of Education report card increased from good to excellent. So that's something that we're really excited about. And another exciting thing is one of our initiatives for our universal social emotional learning, which is second step, and it's being used from CD to 5th grade, and daily lessons are occurring in all of our classrooms. So that's really exciting for us as well. And here's a copy of our school dashboard report card, and you are welcome to look at it at your convenience, and it highlights the overall performance of our students from this past year. So first, I just want to let you know how amazing it is to have Jackson in class. He's really enthusiastic and is always an active participant. He's always eager to share his learning and really looks for positive reinforcement and that recognition for his hard work.
That is wonderful to hear. I do not always see that at home, so I'm happy to hear that in the classroom.
Yeah. So first off, we're just going to look at his individual data. And right here is the readiness metric, and this is something new for our district, and the way it's determined is his assessment results from the spring of last year are analyzed and determined to see his readiness level and how it aligns to college and career readiness. So what they do is they look at the SE Ready results from the spring, his MAP results from the spring, and together they take the highest performance for Jackson to determine his readiness metric or his readiness level. And the reason they use those multiple data points is to make sure that there's an accurate representation of how Jackson is performing. So based on his results from the spring on his MAP and his SE Ready, it appears as though Jackson's performance level is he's approaching readiness. So together our goal this year is to work towards getting him on the path to demonstrating readiness, which is the next step. We have approaching, then we have demonstrating, and then it just continues. So now we're going to look at some of that data that was used to analyze and determine his readiness metric. And the first thing we're going to look at is the SE Ready results. And the SE Ready test is a state assessment which looks at how the students are performing based on the proficiency and the standards. Okay. So here's his ELA, which incorporates reading and his writing. And if we're looking at this, it shows that he does not meet in ELA, which is reading and writing. But when we look at the specific indicators, what's really wonderful is that he's showing a strength in informational text, which is often a weakness in students' performance, specifically in the area of language, craft, and structure. So what that means is when he's reading an informational text, he's able to use those bold words, captions, headings, subheadings to help him and aid in his comprehension of the text. So that's one of his strengths, which is wonderful. And then when we look at his math from his SE Ready State Assessment, it also shows that he does not meet. And you will notice that he pretty much scored consistently in that area. So it's going to be an area that I focus instruction on with him. So this was from his fall data in the spring. We're going to look at his fall data. So we'll start with his reading, and we're going to start with our MAP. And what MAP is measures of academic progress, and it's taken by students 3 times a year. So Jackson will take it 3 times a year, and it occurs across the nation. And what that does in MAP is it compares students the same age, their peers, across the nation and determines their percentiles. How do they compare with one another? So in reading, you can see that he scored in the fall a 187, and then he has scored in the 26th percentile. Now, the 26th percentile is the beginning of the average range, and what's really awesome is you can see how much he has grown and made that progress as the years have gone on. So we are showing steady growth, which means he's on his way towards showing spring to spring growth, which is what we want to see throughout the year. And then according to MAP, it shows that he has a Lexile between 305 and 455.
What is a Lexile?
So a Lexile, that's a wonderful question, is the text level difficulty that Jackson is able to read independently and comprehend. So books that are in between Jackson's Lexile are Junie B. Jones, Judy Moody, Magic Tree House, the Flat Stanley series. So right now, those are the books that we're going to be working on with him. And then as the year progresses, our goal is to increase his Lexile through different instructions. And then when we look at his math, this is going to be an area where I really focus my instruction on with him. So if we look at his achievement, he scored in the 5th percentile. Now it's important to look that he has made consistent growth, which is important because he's not making growth and then dipping. So he's consistently making growth, however, he's also continuously scoring below the 10th percentile. So as I'm working with him, we are going to work on some of those areas. And an area that we're really going to focus on is number sense and operations. So the number sense is his understanding of numbers, how the numbers interact with one another, and then those operations, which is your addition, your subtraction, multiplication, division, how your numbers and the operations correspond. And then we're going to have him also on an individualized path through adaptive digital content. And with math, it's Alex. And it is something that you can access at home as well, which I'll show you at the end how you can get on there. So the next thing to look at is his grades. And his grades are really reflective of his performance. He is a really hard worker, as you could see. He took his time on his MAP, which is showing that he has a really strong work ethic. And the same thing is in class. He completes his assignments. He's not afraid to ask for help, which is something that a lot of students fear, asking for help if they're not sure. So that's really beneficial for him. And he's also responding to our second step curriculum. So that is something that's exciting because we're seeing the benefits of the program already.
Yeah, he talks about that at home, like the focus binoculars. Yeah,
very good. So here are some additional work samples. So this was pretty much like our state assessments. And now I will show you some of the things that we've done in class that actually correspond with his academic growth. So the first thing that we are going to look at is his writing. And
that is a lot neater than I see at home. I'm just going to say that first of all. That's wonderful.
So we've worked with him on his neatness and handwriting and the structure of a paragraph. And what he really did was start to add some more depth in his writing, and we're going to focus on taking evidence from the text, which is something that's really driven in our state assessments. So as we're working, we're going to definitely work on his handwriting and his neatness, but more so the content and the depth of which his writing appears on his paper. And then for math, which is the area that he can show a lot of growth in, we're going to just take a look at one of his pre-assessment and post-assessments. So you'll notice his pre-assessment was a 12, which is you're probably like super concerning.
Yes.
And his post-assessment is a 72, which you hopefully want an A or a B, so 80s or 90s, but he showed a 60-point growth, which is really important to note. And yeah, there's still room for improvement, but this is a great start.
Yes.
So we'll be working in small groups together to make sure those needs are met. So our success plan for Jackson is to have daily guided reading lessons that are differentiated towards his needs and his Lexiles, have math intervention around 3 or more times per week using the Bridges Intervention Kit. And then also, this kit will help us track his growth to see if additional supports will be needed as time progresses. And then for adaptive digital content, we're going to use Alex, Math, and Lexia for our ELA. And then things that you can do at home is to ask Jackson every day how his day was, how and what did you learn at school. Make sure that he's reading 20 minutes at least per day and writing it in his log. And I'll let you have this also.
Okay.
So it just correlates with if you read 20 minutes per day, 5 minutes per day, 1 minute per day. So ensuring that he reads 20 minutes so that his proficiency increases. And then also supporting that use of Alex Math on the iPad as well as Lexia. So doing those things at home will really benefit. Do you have any questions for me?
I think that is wonderful. Like I said, he really hates the math. I can see why. It seems like it's hard for him. I really appreciate the extra support and help. He's a good kid. He wants to do well, but he does struggle. So I really appreciate it, and I think this is going to be a really good year for him. To help with this 20 minutes, and I know you said that Lexile range,
Yes.
and you gave some examples of books. Do you have other books that maybe you could share with me? He really likes basketball, anything sports. So
Absolutely.
if you could help me with maybe books that are going to be on his level, then maybe we can go to the library or the bookstore. And
Absolutely.
Okay.
I can write a list of books that are in his Lexile, and then as the year goes on and his Lexile increases, I can adjust that and send it home with you as well.
That'd be great. Thank you, Ms. Friedman.
Yeah, thank you for your continuous support.